we are set. We got Coach Natan Priest in the house at SoCal Strength on Instagram. Nate, we're a little overdue doing this, but I'm finally glad we got you in. I know you're a dad and you got a lot of stuff going on, so I really appreciate you, making the time and getting over here and joining in, buddy.
Appreciate you having me on, man. Like you said, long overdue. Yeah.
Really long overdue. And I actually met you a couple years ago working at when I was working at KillFit. You were doing a little trial there, and I think you had asked me how to use the reverse hyper machine, and think just me showing you how to use it, how I used it. We kind of just hit it off.
Yeah, we did.
And I think that was during the time when, out of necessity, I was having to get my workouts in at about 3:30 in the morning, just because my days were so long. That was the only time I really had to train. And you said something along the lines of like, man, when do you sleep? And that's when I said, I take long blinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we said, that's just not the smartest or the most sustainable approach. I was 26 years old, 25 years old, and able to get away with that.
Yeah. You only can get away with that for so long.
So long, man. Last night I got about, I think 8.5 hours of sleep.
Good on you, man.
I was asleep at night. It took a while. It took a while for me to get the, understand the importance of 8 hours quality sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of have to, because you're here every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. sharp.
Hold you accountable.
Hold me accountable. Hey, that's what we needed, a little accountability buddy.
Yep.
And so if you guys have ever seen my stories or my posts on my Rayzors Edge page, Nathan is the savage that you see on my page. We're working out, getting it every Saturday morning, 7 a.m. sharp. And man, it's I think I put something the other day where there aren't too many people who I'd rather go to war with than this motherfucker right here, making me condition when I don't want to do. Actually, I'm a little better at it now. The conditioning I have the capacity for, but there was a time when I was a big boy and you
get a little cranky. Yeah, I'd have to push you through it a little bit.
Yeah, I get a little bit cranky when not so much anymore, but you know when I get cranky.
Oh yeah, he kind of gets quiet and
a little short with my words.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? Thank you for not taking that personal, man, because there are a ton of individuals who I have trained with who do take that personal, where it's like, oh, what's wrong? Are you being a jerk? It's like, bro, I'm in the zone.
Iron sharpens iron, man.
Right. And you being a combat coach, coaching Muay Thai as long as you have, I'm sure you've come across several combat athletes, who kind of get a little bit cranky, a little short. Yeah. Because as a coach, you're making the athlete, the client, do stuff they don't want to do.
It's all about reading people too. Like some people can be pushed a little bit further, and then some people do need their hand held, and you do need to be easier on them. That's just the art of coaching, just reading people. And I know you're a tough motherfucker, so
you kind of every now and then gotta dust off dust it off and work for a little bit. But I think I do a pretty good job of. Just definitely, stop being a little bitch and get off my ass.
Oh yeah,
I tell myself that a lot. And it works a lot. But Nate, you want to talk a little bit about yourself, just your accomplishments and what you've done, and how you got into coaching?
Yeah. So I started off with Muay Thai when I was about 23. I'm going on 37 now, so it's been a hot minute.
Right.
About 13 years, 14 years that I've been doing it. So did that. Had a couple amateur fights. And then I actually started getting into strength training. And I injured my rotator cuffs benching. Go figure, right? Straight bar benching.
Right.
Yeah. So after that, I took some time off. That was right when I started getting into fitness, learning about macros and dieting and stuff. So I had to take 3-4 months off. My shoulders are just blasted. I think I may have tore a rotator cuff or two, or on both shoulders. Not really sure. Never really got it assessed. But I came back in the gym from that injury. First day back, or maybe first week back, I decided to come in the gym and try to pick up right where I left off. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can do in any situation. You always have to come back gradual.
Right.
So did some bag work, did some clinching, and I just threw out my back. I got tossed in the clinch and it was never the same. So
until this day.
Yeah, until this day. So I just had to learn how to train smarter. I took a more deep dive into strength and conditioning and physically preparing the body.
Just educating yourself.
Educating myself and learning how to train smarter. And honestly, the Muay Thai took a back seat, and that's when I just fell in love with strength and conditioning and, all the discipline that I learned from it and the results,
And how old were you when you had that shoulder injury? And because you said the shoulder and the back injury were just like neck and neck, right?
Yeah, it's like a string of injuries, pretty much. I was about 28, I want to say. Yeah.
Oh, so you were fairly young still.
Yeah, I was fairly young. Yeah, took time off the gym because I got the shoulder injury. Didn't do anything, which is like the worst thing you could do. Didn't strengthen my core. Didn't do anything. I was just pretty much being a lazy fuck.
Right.
And came back into the gym expected to pick up right where I left off.
Which is a huge mistake that I think
core,
a lot of people make. It's like,
a lot of people make it. Yeah.
It's an ego thing, ego and pride thing. It's, oh man, I was doing this a couple of weeks ago before I got hurt. Let me just jump right back to
and
where
not knowing any better. You know, you think, oh, okay, yeah, just because I did this before, like 4 months ago, you think your body's the same, which it's not. You know, it's either regressing or progressing. You know,
and if you had an injury, and you're not doing anything for the time being while you're recovering, once you feel better, if you haven't done anything, like the amount of atrophy that goes in behind the rest of your body, and trying to play catch up as opposed to progressively making your way back to where you were before you got hurt, that's a big mistake a lot of people make. And it's not something they want to do. It's just like it's just something that they've always done. So they feel like, hey, I've always done this lift with this much weight. I should be able to do it now, and that's just not how it works.
The body's constantly changing. Like you're a different athlete than you are the year prior. You know, your body's always changing year to year, especially as we get older.
Right.
You know.
For sure. Well, I haven't got there. Well, I mean, actually, I have got there because, last year I had the knee injury and then I had the bicep injury, back to back. And, you're one of the guys whose brains I pick when it comes to, ailments, because I know because of your injury history, you have an idea of how to approach it, how to target it, and not just target the area that's hurt, but target the muscles and area around it that correlate with that injury.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's really what when it came to my knee injury. You know what I mean? It wasn't just working on. It was like I had to strengthen the calf muscles. I had to strengthen the hamstring muscles. It wasn't just the knee and quad that was banged up. You know what I mean? It was strengthening the muscles around the area that was hurt, and then progressing and making way back. And without having surgery on either of these injuries, I'm back to, I think I'm
really well.
I'm actually elevated. I'm in way better shape than I was even before them. And it just came to that training smarter, not harder approach.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of the general population, all they're exposed to is stuff like Rocky, the social media influencer approach where you have to go a million miles an hour. This is the best HIIT workout you're not doing. And it's the beauty of social media, because that's where we do a lot of our marketing and most of our audience is. I think it's a benefit for us, but if you are not in the game and you're just trying to get in the game, you see all these this influx of information, and it's really hard to figure out what works for you, what's legit, what is just like horse shit content that is just trying to be put out.
Exactly.
So, what would be your advice to a general population client who's just, hey, you want to get in shape? Where would you start?
Where would I start? It depends. If they're super overweight, I would start having them focus on walking and diet. And then once they get to a healthy weight, then let's get them actually starting to strength train. That's if they never done anything, you know? If let's say you're maybe 20, 30 pounds overweight and you want to start getting after it, let's get you in the gym and start working out 3 full body days a week and walking on those other days.
What was the name of that method for sure? What was the name of that method? I like that method a lot. I forget the name of it though.
Which one?
It's we use for older clients.
Oh yeah. The peripheral heart action escalated density training.
Yes.
So it's pretty much the same thing. It's a fancy term for supersetting an upper body movement with a lower body movement. So we're getting a lot of work done. You're building up your work capacity and you're getting a lot of blood flow, and you are burning a lot of calories with that, which isn't a great determination of a great workout, but it does play a factor.
Which most general population clients think is the determination of a good workout. And it's not the best
really
mark.
not.
I mean, it's a mark, but is it the most optimal mark? Not in my opinion.
If you're wearing a tracker and you're trying to track your calories that you burn through your workout and trying to base your daily energy or how much you're going to eat based on that, that's a very poor way of doing it, in my opinion.
Right.
They're very inaccurate, and
So the calorie mark, the soreness mark, like people think that
Overrated.
being sore
Yeah.
is the gauge for a good work, good session or a good lift or a good day of activity, when really it's not.
no.
It really isn't, man. Like Louis Simmons had a good way of saying it, like never train minimal, never train maximal, always train optimal.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like he may disagree with like the not being sore part, but because that's like a world-class level of athlete that he works with, the powerlifting, the powerlifting demographic where they are really getting after it. But if you're new to the game, I think soreness and calories burned, I'm missing one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head, but just those two off the top of my head right now, aren't the best marks. And that's one of the things that I think you and I do a good job doing, which is why I associate myself heavily with you, is that we want our clients to actually feel a little bit more energetic and a little bit more, you shouldn't be so beat down after a session. Now, there are days where you kind of, add on the intensity.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing wrong with other days when you back off the intensity, depending on where you're at. Like you're just coming off of a deload week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like every 3 weeks, like for 3 weeks, you really get after it. You progress and
ramp up the intensity over 3 weeks. And then that fourth week, I back off. And that's honestly, and within those 3 weeks, every day isn't just hard training. It's ebb and flow. It's okay, I have Monday, hard training. Tuesdays, light cardio, recovery, focusing on, aerobic conditioning. I mean, over the course of 3 weeks, we are ramping up and we have built-in recovery days. And then on that fourth week, you may have 2 workouts and a lot of aerobic work or just mobility stuff, soft tissue work, stuff that you may have neglected or found was a weak point during that training block. You know what I'm saying?
Right, for sure. And like that just sounds to, I think, the average person so counterintuitive. Like, oh, this workout needs to be harder than the last one. And realistically, that's a really good way to set yourself up for failure and burn yourself out.
Burnout, yeah, definitely.
Which is a real thing. And when you're burnt out, you're out of position with lifts, and when you're out of position with lifts, you get hurt.
Yeah,
and they all play into each other. Some of my favorite days, man, are Saturday mornings when we meet up and. It, as much as we get after it, during the session, it's also like lab testing session for us. We
really is.
It really is, man. We go over certain methods that we'd like to try out because I think you and I said it earlier. We don't put our clients through anything that we haven't done.
Exactly. We're constantly testing methods and volume on Saturdays. Like the other day we went a little bit too hard on our dynamic stuff, and both of us were feeling it for days afterwards.
Our nervous system was just shot.
Yeah, we went over a little bit too much, but you know what?
Was it box squats? What was it?
We went dynamic box squats, and then we did,
but it was essentially just max effort work.
His percentages were off, and both of us are like, we're fried after that. Like for the next couple days,
I was fried for like a week.
Super tired and fatigued. So there is a fine line between optimal and fatigue. Once you go over that optimal line or portion, it's like when you recover, you're not really recovering. You're recovering from the workout. You're not really adapting to, where super compensation happens, where you start progressing over time,
I think the caffeine had just got the best of us that day. And we were a little bit eager.
Sometimes it does that.
A little bit eager, man.
We love training so much. Sometimes we do have to pull ourselves back a little bit. We get fired up,
Oh man, you get the right music playing and you're in the right company. And, yeah, man, some of my favorite days are Saturdays when we're just testing stuff out, man. Hey, I was reading and I saw this method, how would you try it? How would you apply it? And that's like one thing I love about you because you're always educating yourself and you're always like willing to try new things out. And then you incorporate that with, my caveman ass and like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'll give you my input and then we'll mesh something together that I think works for both of us. And a lot of the stuff that my clients do is stuff that I've learned through training with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I pick your brain a lot. I pick Hector's brain a lot. I pick Phil's brain a lot. Pretty much anyone who I come into contact with, man. Lately it's been Brandon. I've been helping him out whenever I could.
Very knowledgeable trainer.
Very knowledgeable, man. And Yeah, a lot of the stuff my clients do, it just comes from me putting myself there and being a student, being a sponge. And you have to in this field if you want to excel. Like, you're not going to get any better sticking and being in your own box and my way is the only way. And this is how I used to do it. So this is the way I always do it. And which I think is like the downfall of a lot of young, inexperienced coaches or just stubborn old coaches. You know what I mean? They're just taught what they knew at the time that worked, and it a lot of that stuff doesn't really apply optimally in today's day with all the access to resources and knowledge that we have. Just isn't the best way to go.
Yeah, there's book smart and then there's wisdom. You know, that's a combination of reading the literature, studying the books, and
understanding people
and applying it to people, to yourself. You know, that's where the wisdom comes in, and talking to other people, learning different methods. You have to be flexible with what you think you know,
because we don't know everything.
No, I went through the NASM certification, and then when I started talking to you, that's when I started getting in a conjugate, you know?
Yeah, I'm big on conjugate.
And, if I would have just said, no, NASM's the only way, the OPT model is the only way. That's what I learned, and that's gospel,
For sure. And to be fair, like, and if you don't know what NASM is a certification that most trainers go through. It's like most major corporation, like corporate gyms need you to have some type of certification. And NASM is like the quick one.
National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Right. That's like the big one right there, man. But like we talked about it earlier, a lot of it's just like, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but like you can breeze through most of that information and still be a successful trainer and coach, even without all the word vomit that they throw at you.
Yeah. I mean, the word vomit terminology is important to understand. Like, let's say I'm going to read like another book on strength and conditioning. If you don't have that base and terminology, you're going to be lost in those books. So it does give you that, and it does give you the biomechanics, like the terminology for that and certain things. But just like the programming, the whole model that they explain to you, they want you to put through. When you look at some of the workout programs that are written inside the textbook that they give you examples, they're just totally trash. You're just looking at all the stuff and just like
a lot of it's like cover your ass stuff, like especially for these corporate gyms. You know what I mean?
It just makes no sense. A lot of it, you're like, how am I supposed to squeeze in all this stuff that you're recommending in 1 hour?
Right. And most sessions aren't even 1 hour.
It doesn't have to be that complicated. You choose a good warm up, 5 exercises, maybe 6.
And you're solid.
Doesn't
got to be that long.
And if you need more conditioning, maybe you drop off your accessory exercises and you do conditioning and do the accessories on another day,
The age old, like thinking of, I got to be at the gym for 3 hours.
No.
It's
detrimental.
It is.
It's accumulate fatigue.
You accumulate fatigue, and that just tells me like you have way too much time on your hands. Hey man, if that's like your therapy, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But like to think that you have to have a 3-hour block for your workout,
you might not be working hard enough. You might be on your phone during your rest breaks. You might be chatting it up with people. How long does it take us to get in a really good workout? Maybe an hour,
45 minutes, if that.
Yeah,
that's a really good. But that's with us discussing different methods, or hey, let's try this. So it's a lot of it. Like if we had our program and got to it, we'd breeze through it. But like we said, like that morning's block is a lot of testing. We're testing stuff out.
Yeah. Join each other's company, trying new things out.
But if we just got to the workout and just the workout,
blast through
an hour. Yeah, an hour
exactly.
Tops, for sure.
That's all you really need in a workout. Like 5 exercises.
So how would you program those 5 workouts, man?
Depending on like what type of model. Let's say I'm using a conjugate model.
Right.
Okay. So if you don't know what conjugate is, it's pretty much your going after multiple adaptations or goals in one block. So
you have a few different methods.
Yeah, a few different methods.
Right.
Dynamic,
max,
repetition, and
Right. So actually, Westside Barbell is actually known for that method.
Yeah.
And Louis Simmons, who, was like a pioneer in the industry. I actually when I first heard him talk, he was just so fascinating and so knowledgeable. And I know we make fun of the way he talks and how fast he talks all the time. But his books, I read the one that left the imprint on me was the Book of Methods. So much information in there, and we laugh all the time because when you read it, it's like as if Louis was
it's all over the place. Like it's Louis talking, and then at a certain point in the book, you see it change up, and someone took over, and it starts making a little bit more sense. Yeah,
right. Well, that just speaks the volume how knowledgeable the dude was, and so I'm sorry to cut you off, man.
No
you said the a conjugate approach. So
are we talking about how to design a workout or
design a workout?
Design a quick workout. Let's say we're going to do a max effort day or sub-maximal effort, because I don't ever really go 1 rep max or prescribe that to any clients that aren't super advanced. So generally we want to start off with a dynamic warm-up. Then we want to do some mobility, loosen up the joints, whatever we're going to be working that day.
Right.
And then we want to potentiate or activate. So band pull aparts, lat pull downs, something to activate the muscles that we're going to use that day. And then we want to do some type of potentiation, which is a fancy term for doing something explosive to excite the nervous system, fire up the fast twitch muscles in your body.
Which is why you see us doing like the squats with chains on them. That approach and med ball work. I think we've done exploding push-ups a couple of times. You know what I mean? Yeah. We've done so much. Throughout the course of the last year and a half. We pretty much trained every Saturday. There's so much that gets thrown in the mix. And like I said, a lot of it's testing. But if you ever see us, hitting the speed squats with the chains or band work, at the beginning of the story or the post, that's usually what we're doing.
Yeah. We're firing up the nervous system. Firing up the nervous system, working on rate of force development, just super quickness, very lightweight. So let's say we're doing a max effort day. I wouldn't program dynamic effort, but I would do some type of squat, just maybe for a couple sets, just to fire up the nervous system. Then we go into our sub-maximal work. So that's anywhere from 3 to 5 reps. Sometimes it can go up to 12 reps sometimes, depending on where you're at in your program.
I like capping it at about 8.
Yeah.
That's where I like, that's the highest I'll go. You can go up to 12, but for me, I like capping it at about 8.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. But I like lifting heavy and I like working towards the, 75 to 90%, max range. So I think 8, I think anywhere between 3 to 8 is a solid number.
Let's say we're doing a upper body day. Start out with our sub-max or our max effort lift, floor push-ups, maybe 4 sets of 8. Then we go into our supplemental, which would enhance what we just did. Maybe incline dumbbell press, which is just at a different angle, but we're still firing up the same muscle groups.
Some type of overhead press.
Yeah, overhead press. You're just changing up the angle.
Some type of tricep work. You got to think what is gonna enhance and correlate that main lift. So we're talking weighted push-ups. Okay, what muscles are you using during the push-up? You're pressing with your chest. Essentially, you're using your triceps. Your shoulders are involved. So the supplemental work that goes in behind is going to correlate with the main lift.
Exactly.
Any type of pressing movement at a different angle.
It's like a builder lift. You're building up that main movement.
Right.
And then exercise 3, we would go lat pull downs, straight arm pull downs, rows, something like that for maybe the lats. Get a good stretch on them, maybe around the 8 to 12 rep range. And then we do a lot of upper back work. Definitely. Maybe 3 sets of 15 high reps, and then finish off with biceps, triceps, and shoulders.
Let's use today's lift for an example.
Okay.
So today we started off with some mobility. We did some dynamic movements to start off with, like what we start off with. Some mobility, and then we went into the sled. We got the new sled in today.
We did some back extensions first.
That's right. That's right. The 45.
Usually we always warm up our back, our lower back. When we're doing our our leg days,
that's a big one.
Warm up the low back.
So we started off lower back,
3 sets of 25,
and then we went into the new sled, the torque, the tank. So we did that. We did
8 sets of 7-second
sprints. Yeah, cranked it up. Or we left enough resistance. We didn't add any weight to it. Just the resistance. It was the perfect
I would consider that our dynamic effort.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
We replaced a barbell lift or something like that with some alactic sprint, which is about 6 to 10 seconds.
You want to talk a little bit about alactic sprinting?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I'm just joking. Yeah. Yeah. So pretty much that's just energy systems training. We got our aerobic system. We got our ATP system and a glycolytic. So pretty much the alactic system, we're just producing as much power as we can from anywhere from 6 to 10 seconds.
Right. A burst, a sprint.
Okay. Then lactic work would be anywhere from, let's say, 12 seconds to 2 minutes, somewhere up there. Generally, I like to go 25 seconds to 30-second sprints because it gets pretty brutal if you go anything past that.
That's like when you'd use like the Airdyne bike or something.
Yeah, that's when you're gasping for air and it's really hard. So all we did was just short little bursts of sprints. We didn't want to fatigue ourselves before our main lifts.
I actually felt amazing after that.
I felt great. Just those little short bursts, just repeated effort and into our submaximal work, right?
Which was the belt squat.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that you do 25-second sprints, 30-second sprints, which would be lactic work before you go into a leg day or something like that. It's going to fatigue you too much.
It's going to hinder your main lift.
Better off doing another day or at the end of your workout for a couple rounds.
So then we went into our belt squat today, which was our submaximal work.
Yep.
Where, we loaded up. I think we did a couple warm-up sets and then we went into our working sets. I think we did sets. We worked down
4,
5, right? Yeah, 4 or 5. I think we did a couple sets of 8 to 10, and then we went to 8, 6, 4, 3.
Yeah. Dude, a question: when you program something or write something out for a client, let's say you write 4 sets of 8 or whatever, do you count those in those working sets when you're ramping up to those 4 sets of 8 into that?
It depends if I have time.
I don't like doing that.
I don't like doing it.
Confuses people.
It does. So I usually have them just the bar, get a couple warm up sets just to kind of make, and then that kind of
groove.
Yes, and then it gives me a heads up, like, okay, how's their technique looking? It makes me give them some cues. Okay, it makes no sense if they're already working in their submaximal lift and the technique's off. Like it makes me feel like I jacked up. So I like getting a couple warm up sets. I don't count those.
Here. Me either.
And it like gives me a gauge. Okay, if we have to make any technique corrections, I can make those corrections before we load the weight.
Yeah, I call them throwaway sets. We're not counting those as your 4x8 or whatever you prescribe. Honestly, those 2-3 sets that you do before that should be super light, greasing the groove and just making sure everything's feeling proper. If you got a little kink in your shoulder or elbow or something,
this is where we find out.
Yeah, this is where we find out before you start blasting into your 8 reps or whatever like that. Maybe we need to go back to warm up for a couple minutes or do some mobility fillers, or activation fillers
like
in between
active recovery,
or like do a set, go in there, hit some tricep push downs or something, get some blood flow.
Some shin if we're doing a lower body, some shin boxes, some rotate, something that's gonna work and mobilize the muscle group that we're trying to work on.
You can always go back into that warm up and just grab something out of that and put it in as a little filler in between, And
then so after our belt squat, our submaximal work, we went into the supplemental accessory work, which was today we did Bulgarians with the safety bar, some Nordic curls, and then we finished off with the leg extensions.
That was our whole workout.
That was it.
How many
exercises? So with the back extensions, sled, belt squat, single leg, Nordic, leg extension. 6 workouts.
And I consider those back extensions as part of our warm up or activation series. So I don't know.
6 movements though.
Yeah.
6 movements. I mean, even if you do or don't, 5 movements, if that. We weren't, and I got an amazing lift today.
I got an amazing lift too. I feel great. I don't feel fatigued. I feel like I can recover from this, you know?
And like I think the point that we're trying to make is if you're new to the game and you're just trying to get involved, you don't got to do 20 lifts. You don't got to do you don't got to be there for 2 hours, 3 hours.
Don't beat yourself up, you know?
Right. If you structure the sessions properly, you're going to optimize that time that you were there. And, I was thinking earlier, man, I'm not sure if we talked about this, but like you ever crack up when you see like the Instagram reels where it's like, try this workout. And it's a movement that the trainer never does.
Yeah.
It's like,
I see it all the time.
You know what I mean? It's like, we're going to do a jumping Superman push up into a burpee into like, you know, and that's like, I'm like, dude, they're making this look way more complicated than it has to be.
You're going to tell Karen that's a housewife that works out maybe once or twice a week to do a Superman push-up into a backflip.
My pops actually did one the other day. I was cracking up, man. My pops is fired. My pops is something else, man. It's hilarious. But he sent me a video of him doing a Superman. I'm actually pretty impressed. At 50 years old, he can still hit one of those. Yeah. Oh yeah, it says.
See where you get your genetics from.
You know what, man? He's a freak of nature. It's just unfortunate that his decisions kind of veered him off on the wrong side of the law.
Yeah.
But he's a freak of nature, man. He is. And but yeah, like so guys, if you're like you know, trying to get into the fitness industry, or not the fitness industry, you're just trying to get up and start moving. Like, don't let these videos of stuff that looks like they probably never do themselves, like, don't let those influence you getting in the gym and just doing just the basic movements.
Be great at the basics, honestly.
Fundamentals.
The fundamentals. What would you say the fundamentals are?
Push, pull, squat, hinge, rotate, lunge, carry.
Yeah. Drag. Yeah.
You know, and then you want to get a little more extensive, you can get extensive and then add, you know, certain methods, or, you know, you can start going that route. But it all starts just walking.
Yeah. It really does. Just get up and start moving, walking.
So if you have lack of motivation, like it doesn't take a lot just to get up and walk up and down your driveway, walk around the block, walk your dogs.
Yeah.
Play with your kids.
Be more active around the house, you know, park a little bit further from where you need to go to get those extra steps. I know it sounds silly, but it matters at the end of the day.
You were doing a lot of walking during the pandemic, right? How much walking were you?
I was probably walking for maybe like 2 hours at a time.
You were walking to clients' houses, right? Because you had a few clients that were
I was
around?
walking to clients' house. I just walking around the neighborhood, just stay fit. During the pandemic, all I had was a kettlebell, couple 15-pound dumbbells, and a 120-pound sandbag ball that I made from Home Depot to squat and to carry.
And look at your gym. Hell yeah, man. Look at your gym.
I knew
now,
we were going
dude.
on lockdown. I went straight to Home Depot and bought sandbags. I was like, I need to do something,
making it happen.
I did.
And look at your gym now, man.
I know.
I'm so proud of you, man.
Thank you, man.
So proud of you, because you were actually working out of a kickboxing gym in Downey. And, you know, you're kind of veering and pulling yourself out of that to get your own operation going. And just to see, like, here, like, I didn't realize, I forget, like, all you had was a kettlebell, a couple dumbbells, that sandbag. I remember watching you with the sandbag too, and like, and I'm thinking about your gym now, dude. That is incredible, man.
Doing sandbag push-ups with all my bag, you know.
Hey, but you're making it happen. Like, you're working with what you had, and and
find a way, right?
Find a way, bro. I wonder where I've heard that one before.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard that.
Yeah, if it comes to mind, I'll let you know, man.
Did you just think of that? I think I did.
I might steal that. But yeah, dude. And so, you know, we get our Saturday lifts in all the time, and I know you're accepting clients right now, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, and you also do online training.
Yeah,
so that's where I got to start upping my game, man.
Yeah.
I try to mitigate being in front of a screen as much as I can. And you're the same. You're very much like me, where I'm
hands-on.
You're very hands-on, man. But that's something that we both have to. You're already on it. I have to start upping my game in. But take me through like the process of like developing or communicating with the client online. How do you go about it? Or they reach out to you, and then the clients reach out to you, and then for online programming, like you have it set. So you have it set already, or do you kind of do an assessment through like FaceTime or Zoom to?
So pretty much they will fill out a PAR-Q and a physical activity preparation questionnaire, and let me know what equipment they have. And yes, we can do a Zoom online assessment, or you can tell me about your injury history and stuff like that. But pretty much I just program it out onto a spreadsheet, and all the exercises link straight to my YouTube video. So it goes straight to the demo. There may be like 15, 20-second demos, so you can check your form. You have once a week check-ins with me if you're trying to lose weight and or gain muscle mass. We take a look at the analytics and go from there. I make changes to your program, to your diet.
And how do you normally assess clients? Like if you have clients that walk in, how do you normally assess them?
I believe I sent you like a whole like.
You did, but but I want you to say.
Oh no, yeah, I know. I'm going to. Yeah, so mine. my assessment is pretty thorough. As you know, you kind of looked at it, you're like, whoa, this is pretty thorough. So it starts with overhead squat assessment, balance assessment, going on one leg, push-up assessment, push-up test, seeing how many push-ups you can do, check your strength endurance. And then I go on to posture assessment, take off your shoes. I want to see what your feet are doing, how if you're pronating, collapsing the arch, have you do a couple squats, and then we do an aerobic test to see where your aerobic conditioning's at.
And how do you test the aerobic capacity?
We do a 1 mile ride on the Airdyne bike, and I track their heart rate. We spike it up.
And you look at their recovery.
We look at their recovery within 1 minute. So let's say they do 1 mile, which is about 3 minutes on the Airdyne. If you're in a pretty good shape, maybe a little bit lower. And then at the end of that, we get their heart rate. Let's say it's at 150 beats per minute. Hit a timer, 60 seconds goes by. I want to see how many beats per minute your heart rate drops within that 1 minute. A good range is about 30. Excellent is about 40.
Right.
To recover.
Right.
40 beats per minute and 30.
That's usually
really
about
good.
what I do.
Yeah.
It's usually about what I do. And I know you're like me, and you really have a liking towards working with athletes, combat athletes in particular, man. I know this is a pretty broad question, man, but take me through your approach with working with a combat athlete.
What? And strength and conditioning?
Strength and conditioning.
GPP, man. GPP. Most of the athletes and fighters, athletes in general, they're usually really good at their sport, but they're not very well versed inside the gym with weights.
Right. So it's hard to because their schedule's all over the place. Most can't afford it.
Most of them can't do like a proper squat, a hinge, and you really just have to take them through the basics, GPP.
So how would you, can you explain what GPP is?
General physical preparedness. Pretty much we're building up your aerobic capacity. We're introducing the tissue to load and building up the tolerance to load.
And what kind of drills do you like for the GPP? I know these answers.
Yeah, I know. Sled work is great.
Carries.
Yeah, carries are great. Turkish get-ups, stuff up off the floor, stuff that doesn't require a lot of technical skill. Turkish get-ups maybe a little bit more advanced when you get into that GPP.
Yeah,
but honestly, just building up the tissue hypertrophy work surrounding the joints to protect them is huge in the GPP phase, Right. And then as we progress, we start going into a little bit more strength work. I assess how they're doing in the gym after that GPP phase. And maybe we start doing some dynamic stuff, maybe med ball throws,
some plyometrics
before we start actually lifting barbells and weight dynamically.
That's a good way to
periodize it.
Periodize it. Spike up the nervous system before you lift too. Some plyometrics usually are good enough to just turn the body on and you're ready to go. It's really good for like ligament and joint strengthening too. Gives you that springy feeling.
Extensive plyometrics, that low level plyometrics. He's not talking about the ones where you're jumping up onto
boxes, 10-foot boxes.
A 10-foot box,
No, it's very like maybe 5 yard, like skater jumps.
I have a lot of my kids do that. In the Muay Thai classes I teach, I have them warm up all the time with pogo jumps, single leg hops, just to build up the tissues in the knees, the ankles, the tibialis, the calves, the feet,
Yeah, for sure. I do a lot of the same stuff.
A lot of stuff.
You and I we are cut from the same cloth.
Yeah,
essentially. We do a lot of stuff that's very similar, man. And man, that's pretty much how I would go about training. At what point do you like introducing like sport specific drills, if you do any at all?
Honestly, I really like
their practice is pretty much their sport specific.
Honestly, I think the practice is sport specific.
Enough of it.
You can do certain things where you put them in situations or positions where it kind of replicates what they're doing in the gym. Like I posted a video the other day, like jujitsu, or this exercise for jujitsu athletes, and it's me getting up and doing a shin box with off the ground with the 45-pound med ball. You're putting you in your joints in the different positions under load and getting up off the floor, just kind of like you would do in grappling and Turkish get-ups and stuff,
Right.
For grapplers,
For sure. And
rotational punches with the landmine,
that's a good one too.
Stuff like that. I
love those.
Or
right.
rotational throws with the med ball. That's as sports specific as I usually get. And then when you're doing their conditioning work, maybe as it gets closer to competition time, maybe like 6 to 8 weeks out, we start incorporating more of the time duration that their matches are going to be and their rest periods are going to be. Right. That's how I would get specific.
That's
when
you get a little more extensive with the conditioning methods and drills.
Exactly. Then I get a little more extensive with the conditioning methods. I start getting a little bit closer to the time, let's say GPP phase. I have them do aerobic conditioning for 30 minutes. They're just doing aerobic conditioning, getting the heart rate up, building that aerobic capacity, and then closer to the competition. Then we're going to have them do high intensity aerobic methods or threshold methods for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, however long their fight is.
And pretty much what a threshold method is, it's just taking your average heart rate throughout, like one I like using is for sparring. So we use sparring, for example, for fighters. We'll take the average of their heart rate over a course of 5 3-minute rounds or 5-minute rounds. We get that average and we have a threshold now. We have 10 beats high, 10 beats low, and we train in that range.
And what he's saying is the threshold between where you're in your aerobic zone and you cross over into anaerobic, where you can only sustain that for a short amount of time before fatigue, and you start building up lactic acid and you start failing.
Right. Bit. So you want to train in that range.
It's a fine line on that threshold.
And that's where like the heart rate monitors really play a huge factor and really help us out. They're a really useful tool when using those methods. Man, one of the reasons why I love training with you too, man, because you really taught me, like, you have this approach, like in your 20s, train like you're in your 40s.
Yeah. I didn't have that approach. I just heard it from someone smarter.
Yeah, right. Hey, but it really did. It has worked for at least me, man. You know what I mean? Like, you really got me. Like a lot of the methods that you've taught me, man. I love using these methods. Like, the pre-exhaust is one that I freaking live on now, because as opposed to getting your bro pump at the end, you get your bro pump in at the beginning.
I love that method.
Loosening up you're greasing the hinges, getting blood flow through the joints, and it really does like benefit and increase the main lifts that you're working towards.
Yeah. Maybe you might not be able to lift as much, but honestly, who cares if you're getting the stimulus that you need and you're not lifting as much weight? I mean, if you're a competitive power lifter, maybe I wouldn't do a pre-exhaust method. Right. If you're an average Joe or someone just trying to keep the joints healthy, maybe you do get a pump around the elbows, the shoulders,
the knees.
Yeah, and the knees, just to get some blood flow, get everything nice and warmed up before you go into your main lift.
Because you youngsters are going to find out pretty soon that throwing 3 plates on a squat bar and hitting it first movement in your lift, without warming up, that's just give it a couple more years, guys. Right?
Warm up to lift, don't lift to warm up, right?
I like that one. I like that. Warm up to lift.
Yeah.
Not lift to warm up.
Yeah, don't lift to warm up. Don't just jump to the squat bar and just start trying to bang out set to 10.
Which is what I would do when I was younger. I mean, I'm guilty. I was guilty of it too. But hey, man, like, learn through the old guys. What is DeFranco, the washed up meatheads?
Yeah, honestly, if I'd have hired a trainer, I'm not just saying that because we both are trainers, it would have saved me a lot of injury. It would have saved me a lot of just spinning my wheels in the gym. I can't tell you how much I've spun my wheels in the gym, and I had to learn this shit from just doing it, reading and applying it over the course of, 10, 13 years,
Well, I mean, I've been lifting since I was in high school, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
I did. I lifted in high school, bench press and biceps all day, bro.
That's all it was. I mean, I think the format that I had a little weight set outside. It was 10 chest press or 10 bench presses, 10 curls, 10 skull crushers, 10 presses, 10 squats, 10 rows.
I didn't even squat.
Like, it was just that, like, 3 times, 4 times I would progressively add weight, and
mine was just bench press, biceps and tricep push downs and a couple pull ups and push ups, and that's it, dude.
Maybe sit ups. And not even that. Not even that. That's funny, man. But man, it's just it amazes me, like the rate that we've advanced just from when I was in high school to now. Man, I tell my young clients all the time, I freaking would have killed for my parents to have provided me the opportunity to have access to some of this equipment.
And to have access to somebody that knows what the hell they're doing.
Right, man. And like, dude, I remember when I was a kid, like my uncle would put his Ford F-150 on neutral and I would push it up and down the driveway like to replicate a sled.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Dang.
Yeah, I would freaking use water hoses as like battle ropes.
You're
and
ahead
stuff.
of your time.
Well, you know what? I remember what really kind of shifted my thinking when it came to training was I saw a video, a UFC countdown video. I think it was when Rashad Evans was fighting Rampage. Mm-hmm. And they were showing this side by side, like them training and prepping for the fight. I remember Rampage was doing all this like bodybuilding type stuff, you know, just old school approach.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Rashad. Rashad was ahead of the game. He was like GSP. He was doing a lot of plyometric work. He was doing sled pushes. He was doing hurdles. Like he was training like an athlete. And I remember thinking, for some reason, that just looks right.
Well, he was an athlete. Wasn't he a football player?
He might have been. I don't recall.
I believe Rashad was a professional football player before he got into the UFC.
He might have been. But I remember seeing that and thinking, for some reason, that just looks right.
Yeah.
That just looks like the way an athlete would train.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I was a kid too, I'm not sure if you know who Sean Merriman is. Watching a video of Sean Merriman, he was a outside linebacker for the Chargers. Like he was one of my favorite players as a kid. Seeing him train, and he was always subject to injury, had a ton of injuries. And I remember watching one of his training videos on YouTube back in the day, and he was the same thing. Like he had a trainer. They were just doing bodybuilding curls, overhead presses. Mm-hmm. And I think they threw a yoga ball in to make it look like, you know, he was, you know, it was just
because science.
Right. But I remember seeing Rashad and then GSP, like they had very similar approaches into their training. GSP would incorporate a lot of gymnastics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's great. Gymnastics, controlling your own body weight, you know,
if I could start over
full range of movements.
Mm-hmm. That is you know, and you do a good job, you know, with your kids. Like, you know, you put your kids in gymnastics.
Got both of my daughters in gymnastics.
Have them I remember during the pandemic, I gave you that mat and they were just tumbling.
Thank you so much for that, man. Thank you. My kids still use it like every day. I take it out into the backyard and they love it so much.
But that's like, that just shows like you're not only are you using your knowledge to, you know, do what you do as far as training, like you're able to teach your kids. Your kids are exposed to this now.
That's what it's all about, man. They see me working out in the garage. They want to go in there, hang from the rings. They want to tumble on the mat. So you know,
beautiful.
I love it.
It's so beautiful, man.
Yeah, it is.
But it's like it's no coincidence, man, that like at the rate that kids' activity levels today, like how it correlates with all their health issues, man. Like
mental health,
most of these mental health too. Most of these kids don't even know how to fall.
Yeah,
and that like, and you teaching your kids how to properly tumble, that's gonna save you guys so much in like hospital bill money.
Yeah.
Because you know how often do kids fall? They're clumsy
all the time.
They're clumsy as fuck. They fall all the time.
I learned the hard way when I was a kid skateboarding, falling on concrete. I started learning how to tumble that way.
Right. And, you know, I wrestled when I was like 6 or 7 years old. So like that was one of the first things they teach you as a youth is tumbling. You
protect your neck and
you roll with it, you know, man, one of the most gruesome injuries I always see when it comes to coaching, and it usually happens to the inexperienced kids when they get taken down, they post their arm out.
Oh yeah.
I've seen
jam the shoulder.
No,
elbow.
I've seen the elbow dislocated several times.
Yep.
And that just comes from them not knowing how to fall and not knowing how to absorb impact on a mat. But man, Nathan, you do a really good job with that, man.
Thank you, man.
Oh, for sure, dude. So parents, if you guys do have the opportunity, guys, take them off the fucking Fortnite, guys. Like you're not doing them a service by letting them overwhelm and overconsume a screen all day. I know it's hard. We got jobs and stuff. But you know whom I'm known to talk because I'm not a parent. But here's the proof right here that, hey, you know, with a full-time job, training on the side, like you need to make the time for your kids.
Make it a priority for your kids' physical development.
Right.
You know?
And the best way to do that is them seeing you do it.
Yeah. And lead by example.
Lead by example for sure. And like I get it, guys. It's tough to squeeze it in when we have all the stuff that we got to do. But like we said earlier, it only takes 30 minutes, and you don't got to get too crazy with it. You don't got to get too extensive with it. We all know pretty much. We all took freaking PE in middle and high school.
Yep.
We can do a squat onto a chair, off a chair.
Yep.
We all can do a push-up. Doesn't got to be on the floor. You could do it assisted on your couch. We all know what a lunge is. And if you don't, check out our YouTube channels.
Just have your kids go to take your kids to a playground, have them do monkey bars, have them run, play soccer.
And the kids are so adaptive. We were talking about this earlier, how adaptive kids are.
I love training kids anywhere from that 11 to 15 range, their bodies just adapt so quickly. It's crazy. They're going through puberty and they just make so many gains. They have so much buy-in, and it changes their lives, honestly.
It really does. You know, and you become more than a coach to them. You're a role model.
Yeah.
And man, it's just like there's a beauty in the art of what we do, man. And it goes beyond the looks. That's why I think a lot of insecure individuals think of when they think of training. They think
it's just a byproduct, you know?
It's just a byproduct, man. And you talked a second ago about like how that really helps with your mental health. Too. Like It's no coincidence that us being the unhealthiest that we've been in human history, we are at the same time at an all-time high with mental illness.
Most sedentary, like, you know, too.
Mm-hmm.
Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, they're all intertwined.
For sure.
And then you have to look at the being, you know, the human as a whole system, you know?
Right. Look at what we've done since the beginning of our existence.
Exactly.
And like, I was going to say something a second ago. Oh, and like fresh off the pandemic when a lot of us were told to stay inside and don't move, and
look what happened with people's health.
McDonald's and Walmart was the only thing that was open.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And like people were just, and I get it. At first we didn't know what it was, but now that we have the data that shows who this affected the most, and it was those with excessive comorbidities.
Yep.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, you know, people who are asthmatic that don't have a choice, but still like the two biggest ones were high blood pressure. I'm missing a few more.
Diabetes.
Diabetes,
is a big
high
one.
blood pressure, and obesity.
Yeah.
And like we have the ability to change. Like one of the I troll about this all the time, but I'm being serious now. Like it upset me so much when I forget who said it, but like the running theme was, "We don't have time to get in shape." Can you believe that, man? That's something like these are our world leaders that are saying this, which makes you a little bit think. I mean, I don't want to get too crazy, go down that rabbit hole, but it's
infuriating.
It very is, man. And I hate using myself as an example, but I was 250 pounds in the middle of the pandemic.
You're a big boy.
I was a big boy, and I remember seeing this study that shows the correlation between your waistline. I remember seeing, I'm not sure if you follow Mike Munsell. He has a podcast, High Intensity Health, put up a study about the correlation with your waist size, how people with a waistline of 40 inches or more, how they have a higher chance of getting, obviously just your obesity, your body fat. People with a 40-inch or more waistline were more prone to having COVID being a little more fatal to them. I remember like right away, like, fuck, let me check my waist. It was 41 inches. I'm thinking, like, holy shit, I got to change something. This is not good. I'm drinking a lot. The booze was already kind of out the window, but I remember seeing my waistline. I got to really double down on this because, you know, if I'm going to like not only see the data, like it doesn't make sense to me to see the data and not try to
do anything about it.
And not do anything about it. So, that was something that was big for me, man. And that's, you know, COVID was pretty, you know, one, I'm a trainer. I got to look like one, but I got away with that at the beginning. I'm so lucky I did. I don't know how the fuck I got away with looking the way I did training people. It's like, motherfucker, you do a plank. But my health, like like we have this thing, COVID season, you know, like, oh, it's going to be in the summer and going to be in the winter. Like usually that's when flu season was, but now we're calling it COVID season.
Yeah.
That's when the numbers are going to, the rates are going to go up. Like to me, what goes on in my head is I got to be responsible and I got to start doubling down on my health around the time that these numbers are going to spike.
Yeah.
So, hey, what does that mean? That means I got to be a little bit more active. That means I got to be a little smarter about training, not overtrain.
And your food consumption, what's going in your mouth. That's the biggest part.
For sure. Definitely. And like one of the things I've talked about before too, is it's no coincidence that flu season is usually around the time holiday season. Like, let's look at when the flu goes around.
I never even really thought about that. You're inside, you're eating a bunch of
sweets.
What do you, not getting enough vitamin D.
So let's look at flu season. Starts in about October.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Christmas.
Football season.
Football season. Another one. You're right.
Everyone's drinking beer and chilling out. And
chicken wings and mozzarella sticks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Football season. So you want to throw that in there? Football season.
Yeah, football season.
Okay, let's go Halloween. What are you eating for Halloween?
Candy.
What are you eating for Thanksgiving? Carbs and sugar.
Yeah.
pumpkin pie, mashed potatoes.
We're not saying not to go enjoy your Thanksgiving,
but moderate. But what we're saying is like be conscious of like what you're consuming. Starbucks, like the Starbucks holiday thing where they
800 calories per cup.
Right. Hey, and it's cold, so I get my hot coffee. And then most people don't drink black coffee. I drink black coffee. Most people don't drink black coffee, but what do they put in their coffee? They put a bunch of caramel.
Real quick tip that you guys can do with your coffee, if you are coffee drinkers, substitute your creamer, that bullshit creamer that has all the vegetable oils and God knows what, that's high calorie, with a scoop or half a scoop of vanilla whey protein or mocha caramel, whatever type of whey protein that you like.
I like that.
With a little bit of whole fat milk. And I mean, it's better than creamer. You're getting your protein in, you're getting a little bit of healthy fats, and you're getting your coffee.
That. I'm going to look back and I'm going to steal that right now.
Do it, man.
That sounds delicious.
Oh, it's awesome. It's great.
So we said Halloween. Oh, football season. Halloween. Thanksgiving. Christmas. What are we eating for Christmas?
Whatever the heck there is there.
Well, usually what's
tamales
and high carb.
High carb.
And especially in Latino households, like there's not too much of a protein source. A lot of it is
a lot of carbs,
tortillas,
and fried
beans,
stuff,
rice, fried. New Year. Okay, we're also partying.
Yeah,
we're also partying.
Valentine's Day. Makes sense.
Valentine's Day. What do you do for Valentine's Day?
Seems like all our holidays are just revolving around just trash food.
But there's that trash food. But there's that bulk towards the end of the year where we're eating a bunch of bullshit and we're all indoors because it's cold.
Yep. And
you're asking basically for a virus.
Exactly.
Your body, your body's filled with inflammatories. And then, you're consuming all this bullshit. You're around a lot of people.
You're stressing your immune system.
People are stressing because they got to buy holiday gifts. Like how many people stress because they got to buy their kids gifts?
Not only that, all that food stresses your immune system. So when you do get hit with the virus, your immune system, it doesn't have the ability to fight something else off when it's already fighting that inflammation and that oxidative stress from all that crazy food that you're eating.
Right, for sure, man. And look at all that. And if you could just moderate all that and just, first you got to be aware of it, consciously aware of it. It didn't, it's been in front of my face my entire life, but until I said it out, oh, shoot,
consciously,
it makes sense. So, when COVID was going around, the last 2 years, I was a little bit more aware of, hey, maybe I should cut back on the drinking. Maybe I shouldn't smoke as much and not inflame my lungs.
Exactly.
Maybe I shouldn't, have as much sugary foods and treats as I'd like to. Let me just, periodize my lifts. That way I don't overtrain and burn myself out and be a little more prone to illness as well.
That's a stressor to the immune system too. Overtraining.
Right.
So
just those things alone, it's going to help you. It's going to put you in a position to either not get sick or if you do get sick, fight it off. And that just comes from just being consciously aware and wearing a mask. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you just got to be aware of that. And then once we know what it is, we know what we're doing. We can fight it off head on a little bit more.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
What you said, moderation is perfect.
Huge.
You don't have to be so strict on your diet and cut out a whole food group. Cut out the things that you love. You can still have those in moderation, like Ray was saying.
Friday nights, I have my Ben & Jerry's.
Exactly. But that, you're not just sitting on your ass that day. You're making sure those calories go to use. You're not just sitting there and eating a bunch of sugar and sitting around. You probably train that day. You're probably taking an account into your macronutrients or your carbohydrates and fats for the day. So honestly, you do have some wiggle room, especially when you do some resistance training and you have a little bit more muscle,
For sure. And and all that plays a factor, man. And like I said, if I was sitting down and only eating Ben & Jerry's, it'd be a problem.
It'd be a very big problem. Yeah.
But you know what? But it you have to hear and see this stuff in order to oh shit, that's right. That is a thing.
Yeah.
Football season. That's right, man. So I didn't think about that one, man. You know what? I'm lucky this year. I cut out football, man. This past season.
Really? I've never been really much of a football guy. I mean,
you're lucky.
I like it. I appreciate the athleticism and stuff like that. Right. But for me to sit down and watch a whole game,
it's not for me anymore.
Yeah. It never has been for me, really.
Well, in high school, I was all into Madden. I was really into Madden, playing the video games.
Oh, okay.
And then, I was a Chargers fan too. But as a kid, And I had the time to afford it as a kid. Like I used to have the Sunday ticket, the Sunday ticket's like the package that you could watch all the games on Sunday. So I was for sure. So Monday night football, Thursday night football, fucking Sunday again. So like I was that guy for a couple years where I would make the time to do it. Now I just don't have the capacity for that. So now if anything, it's maybe just Charger games. If that, like no more, no less.
Yeah. I don't have time for that either, especially since hard. I've had kids, It's like
crazy. It amazes me, man, how I don't have time to research how to better my health, but I could play fantasy football. I could look at the stats this guy had last year and get
priorities. Where do you place your priorities?
Fantasy football and this running back who is going to get me 8 points, 10 points, 12 points, and win me $200 at the end of the season.
Now that you say it like that, it sounds completely ridiculous.
There's people that do that. I know people that do research, like crazy research.
They can't research how to eat a healthy diet or how to lose a few pounds.
That's too much work. That's too much work.
Honestly, that's how I got started. I did a lot of driving. I just started watching YouTube videos. What are macronutrients? What exercises should I be doing? Like when I got my rotator cuff injuries, and that's really when I started taking a deep dive into nutrition and everything.
This is not working. I feel like shit. How do I feel better?
Yeah.
And that's when you made the effort to gather the resources that you thought would educate you in that field. Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot. And you go about it that way.
That leads me to like another chain of thought. What do you think about using sports to get in shape or get fit?
I don't like it.
Me either.
Because you're not an athlete.
Me either.
Because if you're fucking sitting on your couch all day eating fucking Cheeto Puffs and then, I'm going to go play basketball. Oh, exactly. Dude, good luck ACL, not breaking your fucking ankle or tearing your ligament. That's one of the things, bro. Like I had a couple friends who they love balling up and I'm glad they're doing something.
Yeah.
Let me just start by saying that. I'm glad they're making the effort. If that's your thing, cool. Who am I to say that you shouldn't do that?
Mm-hmm.
But like, what are you doing? Like you could have got away with that when you were younger. You're 30 years old now, buddy. You're playing, like I said,
pick up basketball.
Pick up basketball. That's like where most of my friends and clients, where they get hurt.
Yeah.
Playing pick up basketball because they go from being stationary all day, not properly warming up, and then going right into a game.
Tissue tolerance is just
Hector tore his meniscus or MCL a few months ago playing basketball.
Really?
Yeah. He's working back from that.
Really?
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
I have a friend tore his ACL last year playing basketball. You know what I mean? I had another friend who strained it. It's like, dude, like, have you not seen enough that, like, granted, it's fun. I'm sure it is. It was never my thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fun and I'm glad you're doing something, but like, well, okay, let's do this now. How about like kickboxing or boxing?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I've done that. I've tried to get in shape with sports and it failed. Mm-hmm. So that's how I end up getting hurt. Mm-hmm. I was about 205 pounds. I was probably about 20. I was a big boy. I was probably,
I can't imagine you that big.
I was probably about at your body fat percentage, but on my frame,
right?
Oh, so yeah, I ended up dropping like 55 pounds. Now I'm about 149, 150 around there. Mm-hmm. But when I was at that 205 pounds, I went back to kickboxing after a long layoff and decided it's time to get back into shape. I mean, yes, I did lose some weight just because I was just running a lot and doing 2 or 3 hours of kickboxing, which no one will really do. It doesn't really make sense. Mm-hmm. Then I started finding strength training,
And that's where you gauge toward.
That's where I started gauging towards, okay, this is what I need to do to actually drop weight and physically prepare myself for kickboxing.
Effectively do it.
Honestly,
now they go hand in hand.
Now they go hand in hand. You have to build your strength base, your GPP as
strengthen the ligaments
as a foundation before you go and do sports. I mean,
bone density.
Yeah, or alongside with your kickboxing or boxing. Yeah, you can do that, the kickboxing classes, but make sure you're building your foundation on strength and conditioning and your GPP, building up the body, the aerobic system.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good point. So that's, I think, something that most people could benefit off of. Nate, I know you got to take the babies to go see Minions,
yes,
dude.
Sir.
So, hey, man, pleasure having you on, brother.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, man. It means a lot to me. You want to tell the camera where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on SoCal Strength Club _562 on Instagram. DM me for any questions or inquiries on online or personal training.
There you go. You guys have it. The great Natan Priest, See you guys later.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys.